In this video, we're going to be using the UPS API, and we're going to be calling the UPS API and getting different package rates for our packages. I just created something like this for a client, and it took me days just to understand all the documentation and find all the codes and stuff like that. And I want to create this video just to save somebody else from going through all that. And also, I might need to reference this in the future if I ever have to develop something for a different client for shipping. I'll have this video to reference. So what we'll be doing in this video is just calling the UPS API for package rates, and we'll be using SOAP, ASP.NET, and C# later in the video. But at the beginning, we're going to experiment with JSON and Postman. So what we'll be doing in this video is going out to the UPS.com and getting the developer kit. And once we get that, then we'll go into Postman, and this is for like making HTTP calls, and I got that right here. And I'll show you where you get all the I'll show you all the URLs and stuff like that. And then we'll be using JSON in there. And then what we'll do is we'll set up a ASP.NET web application, and we'll be pulling in the UPS rate service, and they give you that in the developer kit here. And then we'll just output something to the screen. And that's pretty much it. That's all we'll be doing in this video. So the tools you'll be needing is Postman and Visual Studios. It doesn't really matter what year, 2015, 17, whatever you have, it should be fine. And then you also need a UPS account. So you'll need a username, password, and with that we'll be able to create a service access token. So first you'll need Postman. I have that right here, and I'll have this link in the description. You just go down there and click on that, you end up on this page. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just pick what type you want and then hit OK a couple times, and you should have it installed. And we'll be getting into how to use this pretty soon. And then also you'll need Visual Studios. So I'll have this link in the description also, and you'll be able to find this page. So let's first go to UPS.com and find this developer kit, and I'll show you how to get that. So here at UPS.com, UPS developer kit, and I'll have that link down in the description. You just go down there and you'll find this page. You'll be able to download all these different type of APIs. Now the API that I'm going to be using is the rating one. Now this gives you the ability to get rates for different shipping packages. And keep in mind there's all kinds of different ones. Tracking packages, there's an API for that. I was actually playing around with this shipping one for a while, validating addresses and stuff like that. I actually started with a shipping one and realized I needed to use the rating one. So the one we'll be working with is the rating one. And to download that, you need to log in. Well, first let's just click on this. And then down here there's like a download button, but you have to log in first before you can download it, and you'll find the download button right here. And then also one more thing you'll need is the token. And right here you log in and then you create an access token. It's real simple. It takes a second. Just make sure you copy it, paste it in a safe spot, and you'll be needing that later on. So once you download this rating package, you'll get something like this, a zip file. So you just extract it, and then you get this, and then you get all these different goodies. Now here is all the documentation, and there's two different type of like APIs here. There's the ground freight. That's for anything that's over 150 pounds. You want to use this one. The one we're going to be using is the package one, and that's 150 pounds and under. The reason I want to just use one is you get the idea. Once you use one, you'll basically know how to use the other one. So we'll be using the rating package, and we'll start off with the JSON. So what I'm going to do is, in here they give you a snippet. You just copy, paste it in Postman, and what we'll do is we'll experiment with all the different codes, like the shipping codes. You have to have certain codes for countries, so we'll just play around with that with JSON and Postman. And then once we get the idea how that works, then we'll pull in SOAP into ASP.NET. So here is all the different codes on this one. And at the bottom of this, we'll be getting into that, you can find all the different codes, and then in this one you could get the JSON code that you need to paste into Postman. So let's go ahead and get started on that. We'll open these two up and we'll go ahead and open up Postman, get that all set up, and we'll start testing this JSON next. So here in Postman, we'll start adding in our URL and things like that, setting this up. So it's going to be a post, so make sure you change that to post. And then let's go out and get the URL. Now that URL is located at, let's go back here. It's going to be located in the JSON file, so just click on this. And then if you scroll down and just click on JSON examples, and it's right above this, yeah, there it is. So just copy this and then go back to Postman, paste that in there. Great. So now what we're going to be creating is, it's going to be in the body, and I'm just going to paste raw JSON code in here. And make sure right here, change this to JSON application right here. That's important. Okay, so now let's go out and fetch the JSON code that we're going to need. So if we go back to the documentation, and right below here is all the JSON file. Now there's a rate request, and then this is what the JSON is going to look like when you get the response. So just keep that in mind. So let's just go copy this. Now I remember this being a real pain copying and pasting this because they have it broken off in two sections here, so it's really aggravating. So just copy this, and then we're just going to throw that in here. Oh, oops, Control Z. We got to format it first, so let's just go, I forgot about that. Just paste that in there, and then get the second half. So let's go back to here and copy this. Copy, and go back here and throw that at the bottom. Okay, and this is kind of nice too because it checks if it's valid. So if you didn't copy and paste it correctly, it'll let you know. So it's valid, that's good. And it's all nice and formatted as you can see. So just click this button, copy it. And again, I'll have this link down in the description, so you just go down there and find it if you want. Or you could just Google some kind of JSON formatter, it doesn't matter. So now if we go back to Postman, and I'm just going to throw that code right in here. Now this looks kind of crazy. It's got all these different properties, all kind of crazy stuff going on. But to make it easier on yourself, minimize a lot of this stuff. Just shrink this, and once you shrink everything down, it gets easier to look at, and then you get more of an idea how to fill everything in. So here's the shipment object, and here's the request object. These two objects belong, its parent is this object. So if we minimize this, and then these two objects belong to this object. Now later on you're going to notice I'm going to be passing this object and this object into a function that UPS gives us, and it's going to return a response. So let's first start on the security code information that we're going to need. So let's open this up. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this out, but you're going to need that username I was talking about and that password for your UPS account. And then you're going to also need that token. Remember I was saying you need to create that token right here. So after you create that token, whatever you get from here, you're going to need to paste that right in here. So I'm going to go pause the video, fill this information out, and then I'm going to shrink this so nobody can see my information like this. So I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so I added my username, password, and the token. So if you did not get this right, you're going to get a username error or something like that. I should have showed you that first thing. But here is the response. So now we're getting an error for the state. And that's what's going to keep happening. Like once you fill one thing out, then you hit send, you're good, and it'll just keep working its way down the line, getting the errors, you know. So let's go ahead and add in our shipment information. So now that we know this is working, this is all valid. So that object's ready to go. And then here is the request. We'll get into that pretty soon. I'll come back to that. So now it's complaining about this right here. So the state is incorrect. So what I did when I first started this, I added like an A here. And it was saying, well, the country code is not correct. So if we hit send, and now it's complaining about the country code. And I was like, well, where do you get all these different codes from? And I was wondering about that. Well, that's all in the documentation. I just had to look a little harder. So let's go back to the documentation, and I just want to show you where you get some of these codes. So this is at the bottom of the page. So let's actually go back here and back to the documentation, and you'll find all the codes in this document right here. So let's open that up, and we'll go down to here it is. So here, for example, is the territory codes. So what country you're working with, and in our case, it's I'm working inside the United States in my case. So I'm just going to put US. But keep in mind, if you want to find codes and you're wondering what type of code to use, and there's many different type of codes, not just for countries. And I'll show you a few more actually. But let's go back to here, and we'll just change that back to the US. So change that back. Now, just to save some time, I'm going to enter in a bunch of addresses, but keep in mind, this part right here does not need to be filled out. It's not required, but these four are required, if I understand it correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and enter this information in, and all this information in, and make sure it's a valid address, because you'll get an error, because they actually check if it's like not a valid zip code or something, you're definitely going to get an error back. I tried that already. So I'll enter in all this information. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so I added in a bunch of shipping information, the shipper, and usually a lot of times this is the same, the shipper and the ship from. In my case it was, so I just kept the same address. And then here's where we're shipping it to. So if this is valid, you should be able to get a response back. So let's go ahead and hit send. And now again, we're just going to minimize this. This is kind of hard to look at first. So as you can see, the response status was a success. So we did get some information back. So let's go ahead and minimize this. And you get one major object back. And then inside there's two major objects here. The rate shipment. Like later on, we're going to be getting an array, and it's going to be the rate shipment. That's what we're going to send on to the view. And then we'll just display all the array. And then for now, we only got one service back. Let's minimize this. And then, so we got one rate back, one shipping rate, and this is the service. Now, again, if you're wondering what these codes are, like the service code, let's go and find that in the documentation actually. So we'll go back to the documentation, and I'll find that, and I'll be back in 1 second. Right here is all the different service codes. So if we go back, and in my case in the United States, domestic shipment. So if we go back here, look at that code, it's a 03. And then we go back here, and 03 is UPS ground. So that's the rate it's giving us back. So just keep in mind, if you ever have questions about these codes here, they're all down here at the bottom of this page. That's where I've been finding everything. So just minimize this. So we only got one rate back. One, where was that? It's back in the US. So service option charges, total charges. So we got one rate back, and that's $9. So what if you want several rates back? Well, if we go back here, back to the top, they have a one right up here, the request. And now if you want multiple rates back, you put in shop right here. And some of these are not required. These properties like this one, it's not even required. Like you can fill it out if you want, but in the documentation it tells you it's not required. So let's get rid of this. And again, if you want to find what values to put in here, you want to treat this like it's an address. So you want to look for rate request, request option. So if we go to the documentation, just remember those three, and then it's kind of like a street address. So request and rate request and then request. So let's go back here, and then all the way at the middle, somewhere up here. Actually, you can go down here and then go to rate request, click on that, and then it's like I said, it's like an address rate request. These are just containers that hold objects. That's what that means. And then you go in here and it's rate request. That's what we just changed. And then it tells you right here, it is required. So in other words, if you don't fill it out, you're going to get an error. Then over here on the right, you could use shop. That will give you back multiple different package rates. And then up here is rate. It just give you back one. So you can find out all that information by just checking out this documentation. And then also it will tell you, well, let's say there's a whole bunch of different codes. It won't tell you here. It'll tell you just go to the bottom of the page basically and find it down there. So keep in mind you can find any information you want to fill out by just tracking down the address right here, you know. So we got that filled out. That's correct. And then we can close these up. We know that's working now. The shipper, ship to, ship from, and then the package type. Now the dimensions, you could check into it by going to, request, shipment, and package, then dimensions. You don't actually need this, believe it or not. I was checking the documentation out and it says you don't need it. So let's get rid of this. And get rid of this. All right. Okay, and then also, what do you want, like pounds, or there's different types, and you can find that all on the bottom of the page. And this is the how much of the weight of the product is. So I'm going to enter 10 pounds in this case. So that's done. And oops, I broke the JSON here. Hold on. Okay, fixed it. Okay, got rid of the dimensions. I got rid of the wrong one there. Okay, and then here you just change this like the different weight, and then pick what type you want. Like in my case, I want pounds, so that one's ready to go. And then this is good. Just get rid of this. Close this down. And this one, I don't even think this one's required. Let's actually check that out. So we want to go into rate request, and then into shipment, and then shipment rating option. Okay, here it is. Finally found it. So shipment rating option. So it's in the rate request, shipment rating options, and that's right here. So let's go and see if this is required or not. And it is not required. Okay, so we can actually get rid of that one. So we'll go back here and get rid of this, and we should not get any errors for that. And make sure we get a valid JSON here. Okay, so we'll hit send. And then let's close this down. Now we should get multiple pricing here. So I'll just close this up. And it was a success, so that's good. And in pounds, that's what's being bill weight. In US dollars, and here's $11 for this one. And then go back here, close this one up, close this one up. And package rate. So here is one that it gave us back. Now here's the second one it gave us back. Is this one's code 12, and change this. And this one was $21. So it gave us back several. If you notice the service, there's a whole bunch here. Service. So it gave us back like 7 different packaging rates. So that's the response we're going to be getting, and we're going to be outputting to, in ASP.NET, we'll be outputting that. So now that we got it working, we got an idea how to figure out what codes are, and we got it all figured out, like the response and stuff like that. We got it working. So now we're ready to move on and create an ASP.NET application and get this working in there in Visual Studios. So let's get started on that. Now we're ready to start creating our ASP.NET application, and we're going to go and pull in the UPS rate service that UPS gives us. So let's go ahead and create the application. So just go to File, New, Project, and then I'm just going to call it like API, UPS API. That'd be good. Okay, great. And then hit OK. And just ASP.NET Web Application. That'd be fine. And then MVC. That'd be good. Okay, great. So now we have the application. So now we're ready to pull in the service that we're going to need. So if you right click on reference, if I remember correctly, and add service reference, that's right. So just click on that. And then here we're just going to get the address to the file that we need to pull in. So actually, let's go ahead and take care of that right now. So I'll just cancel this, and we'll go back to the folder. And to find that, you go up and then go into rating package, and then package web services. And then you're looking for this file. Just go in there, and we need to pull in this rate WS. So let's go ahead and open up Notepad. And actually, better yet, Notepad++. And then go back here. I need the address to this, so copy this and just throw this in here. And then we need the, what's that file called again? It's RateWS, that's right. So RateWS. And then the type is WSDL. Okay, great. So we'll need that address, so just copy this. And then we can minimize this, go back to Visual Studios. Now we could go and pull it in. Paste it right in here, and then hit go. Okay, great, it found it. So I'm just going to call this UPS rate, and then hit OK. Okay, great, and as you can see, it pulled it in. So let's go and check out what it gave us. So we just right click on it, and then view an object browser, and then we just go down and open that up. And what they give us is all these objects, and we could build out what we had going on here in JSON. So like, let's say for example, UPS security, that's that object we're going to be building right here. So we'll be building this object, and then inside this object there's a couple more objects like username token, for example. If we go back to here, and we can find that right here, the security username token. So what we're going to be doing is using all these different objects to build out a call, and then we'll make our API call and get back a response. So let's go first, before we get into this, let's go check out the documentation. So if we go back to here, and I'm just going to build out the first object, the UPS security, and then what I'm going to do is come back and delete it and just show you how to copy and paste it from the documentation here. And that'll save a lot of time because they give you these code samples and they have a lot of that already here for you. So instead of me typing it out, to save you a lot of time and cut down on time on this video, I'm just going to copy and paste a lot of it. But let's go and build the first object, and then we'll come back here and copy and paste some of the code out of here. Okay, so let's start off by building our UPS security object. Now I'm just going to dump this right out to the screen, so I'm just going to go inside the home controller that they give us here, and then just build it out right here. But normally what you would want to do is like build out a service or something and return either the response. You could actually have the service do the API call and then return a response, or you could have it return a bunch of different objects, you know, whatever you really want to do. But I'm just going to build it out right here, the entire object, and just dump it out to the screen. So we'll start off with the UPS security. So I'll just create a var, and then UPS security. You can call this whatever you want, actually. Equals new UPS. Okay, and then we're going to have to pull this in. So if we go over here, and it's that service that we have, so just click on that, and that should pull it in up here at the top. Great. So now we have our wrapper container created. So now we need to create the containers that are inside of this. And if you go back to here, it's the username token and the service access token. So let's go ahead and create those. So we'll go back here, and then var, and you can call this whatever you want. So user token, that'd be good. Keep it short and simple. And then it's UPS, and then it's right here, username token. And then we want the service, what's that called again? It's called the security, or actually service, we'll call it service token. That'd be good. So go back here and service. I always have trouble coming up with names for things, you know. So service token, so new security access token, that'd be good. Okay, so now we got our wrapper. So now if we go back to the object browser, click on this, and it tells you right here all the different properties that you need to fill out. So in this case, we need the access license number for this one. We're going to start on the user token, so we're going to need a password and a username. So let's go back here. And then user token. So we're going to start attaching things to this token now. So user token dot username, and it should be there, and it is, equals, and then make up whatever username you want. Or actually, it's supposed to be your UPS username. I'm just going to put test. And then the password. And I have a really good password. I'm going to call it password. That'd be good. All right. And then you want to actually, we'll go ahead and attach this to its parent now. We filled out the property, so now we need to attach it to the parent. So the UPS dot, and it should have service access token and user name token all the way at the bottom. Click on that, equals this object we created here. So copy this and throw that right here. Okay, that one's done. So now we got to finish up our service access token. So we'll go service dot, and then that's the one we want, the access license number, and that's going to be equal to whatever your license number is, blah blah blah. And then now we need to attach this service token to our parent, so the UPS security. So UPS security dot service equals, and then that variable we created, so it's right there, and voila. So you're going to pretty much do this without throughout the whole entire thing. So now that we have this object totally built, ready to go, now we got to build out the rate request. But as you can see, this is pretty huge. So this will take all day to build this out. So what I want to do is just copy and paste, just to save you the torture from watching me do it. So I'm just going to go ahead, and we could leave this, but I'm just going to delete this. We'll start off scratch with the snippet that they give us. So let's just get rid of this. I just wanted to show you, you could build it out that way if you want to. And then we'll just go back to the documentation that we downloaded earlier. So here it is, the rate package folder we got. And then they give us a nice piece of snippet that we could use. And I'm pretty sure it's in here. Then you go into here. And I think it's in here. And we go in here. Then you want the .NET. And then we're going there. I keep clicking on these. I remember that. So it's actually in here, I think. So we'll go, there it is, this one. Let's open this up. Yes, I'll open it here. Say OK. Now that we're inside the sample, just go open up RateWS client. And here there's a nice piece of snippet we could use. Now I'm not going to bother putting it in a try block, but keep in mind you could do that. I'm more interested in just showing off how to make an API call with this object. So just copy all this good stuff right here. And then there's some console write lines. I'm not going to bother copying all that. I'm just going to copy down to here. Just copy all of that. And let's paste this into our project. So go over to the project, throw that right here. And this is kind of hard to look at right now, so let's go ahead and clean it up. And like as you can see right here, it has some similarities with what we were doing before. In this case, they called it UPSS, but this is our security, and that is this. And then the rate request is, we go back here, this right here. So we're gonna have to, just build these objects out like that. So let's go ahead and just get rid of this. I'm gonna do this a little different too. So we'll get rid of this, and then we're just gonna clean all this up, keep everything in the right categories. So these are the two parent objects we're gonna be attaching everything to. Now this is the service access token. So very good. And it has the same setup, like it attaches the license to the object. Then we attach this entire object to the UPS, the proper property, of course. So it's just pretty much the same thing going all the way down. This, we get rid of this actually. All right. And then now we have that object done. So now let's work on the rate request. I'm going to pull this down so it's with the rest here. So copy this. And then I could have cut it out actually. And then just paste that here. Get rid of this. All right. So now we have our rate request container. So if we go inside the rate request, we got two more containers. It's called request and shipment. If we go back to here, and here's the request that they built. We're going to change all the values pretty soon. I'm just trying to organize it right now. And then here is the shipment. So let's separate these two. So they built out the request, and here they built out the shipment. And then inside the shipment, if we go back here, there's a whole bunch of different properties. There's 5 more properties. So let's go back here. And that's the shipper, the ship from, and where's the other one? The ship to address. Then there's the service, that's also inside there. And then the packages. So where is that package object? Right here. So we want all this right here, all the way down to the shipment package. And we're going to just bump that all in, and again, just hit tab, that'd be good. So we kind of know that this all belongs to this, so that's good. And we could have just tabbed this in, but that's fine. The request, we'll leave that alone. Okay, so now we're working on the shipment. So I'm going to get rid of the shipment address. In some cases, I think you do need the shipper number address, but for now, we'll just get rid of this. In this case, we don't need it. And also, you remember we got rid of the address line, so we can get rid of that also. And this, I'm not going to hard code it like they're doing here. I'm just going to set it to a variable. So var. And then get rid of this. So we created a new instance of the address type, and for that you need a couple properties. So that's going to be the city, postal, state, and country. We get rid of this. And then we assign this entire container to the address, the shipper address. And then we turn around and grab the shipper and tie that to the shipment container. And that object is done. And all the addresses, we're going to be pretty much doing the exact same thing. Let's bump this up so we know this all belongs together. And actually bump this one up. Very good. So these will be doing the same thing. So let's just go and, oops. Give some space there. There's the ship to. Then down here is the service. Let's bump that one down. Yeah, I'm trying to make it easier to look at here. It's kind of confusing. So here is all the service stuff. And then they create an instance of the package type. So let's give some space there. And this all belongs to the package. All right. Okay, very good. All right, so let's finish filling out these addresses, get rid of these red lines here. So here I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to set this to a variable. And then I'm going to get rid of this. and get rid of this. Actually bump that in. And that's pretty much it for that one. Now moving on. And we gotta just mop all this up, get rid of this line, and then we're gonna get an error here, so we get rid of this line. And that's pretty much it for this one. Then we got all this cleaned up, so very good. So I'm gonna get rid of this. And now we will need to make the call pretty soon. Let's get rid of these console lines first. Okay, so let's go over what we did. We'll go check out Postman again, but we pretty much created all these objects that we got in Postman. Let's go check out Postman. Now that we have our code in there and it's easier to look at, now we got to make sure our values are correct. So you want to use your username and your password, and then also your service token at the top right here. So you want to add all that in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and add it into the web.config file. The reason is I don't want people seeing my username and password right here, but normally you could just enter it right here. And then also the only other change that I'm going to make, like the addresses look pretty good from the snippet, so I'm just going to leave that just to save time, but I'm just going to change this to shop. So if we go back here and we change this from rate to shop. Now this should give us an array of package rates. So now we got to just take care of the username and password. So I'm going to go open up the web.config file right here. And then in app settings, I'm just going to add a couple more. So just copy this just to save some time. Paste that. So this be like UPS username or whatever. And UPS password. And get rid of this, get rid of this, and then this one will be, I'll just call it token. Okay, so now I'll add these values in a second, but now I need to go and pull it in. So I'll go back here, and then I'm just at the top here, I'll just set a variable. So I could use this globally, so I'll just set it to private though. Then read only, and then string. Then you just want to name it, so I'll just call it username or UPS username. That'd be good. Then equals, and then we're looking for web manager. Now it's not going to know what we're talking about, so just click on this. And it will be this one right here. Just click on that. Then dot app settings. And then we're going to pull in those variables. So in our case, it's what would I call that? It was called UPS username, or the keys we're going to be pulling in actually. So copy this, go over here, throw that in there. Now we just need to make two more, one for the password and then the other one for the key. Or the token. So copy this. And what is this? Get rid of that. So this one's going to be UPS password. That'd be good. And then UPS password. Actually, I better copy that. It's very important that that's correct. Okay, copy this. Go back here, throw that in there, and then this will be token. And throw that right in here. Okay, so now all I got to do is populate this. So we need the username, UPS username, copy. And then the password, or actually you don't want that in a string, by the way. So get rid of this, and Control V. Okay, and then we got our token. So we'll just put token right here. Okay, so now I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go and into the web.config file, fill in all this information with the correct information. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so I have the security information in and we got all our information filled out. So let's just clean this up a little bit. And now we're ready to make our API call. So UPS gives us another object to help us do that. So if we go back to the object browser, and it's called the rate port type client. So we're going to we're going to instantiate that, and then we're going to use that to make our API call. So it's called rate port type client. Kind of hard to remember. So let's just create a variable. We could just call it client. That'd be good. And then equals a new rate. Oh, all right, good. It just popped up. That's good. So now that we have this, now we could, instead of this rate here, we could get rid of this and use the new variable we just created. And now this has a method called process rate, and it takes 2 parameters. And the 2 parameters it takes is this one and the UPS containers that we created earlier. And that's exactly like this right here. So these are the 2 parameters we're going to be passing into this method. So if we go back here, so we go back down here, and we'll just add in UPSS. So we got our 2 parameters, so that should bring us back a response. So let's go ahead and run it and see if we get it. So I'm just going to put something right here, test. And then I'm just going to debug right here. And then we should get back a response here. I just want to show you the response, so just hit play. Okay, great. So if you just double click on this and then open it up, and here is the response. So it was successful, and we got a rate shipment, and then we also got a response. And if you remember from Postman, that is the exact same thing right here. So we got a response, we got this container, and we got our 2 objects inside of it. So if we go back here, and that's the exact same thing we got here. We got these 2 objects in here. So now all we need to do is output that array to the home page. That's where we'll just throw it out to. So let's go ahead and just stop this. And then we could just get rid of this line right here. We don't need that anymore. And now what we're going to do is create a view model. And we'll just attach it to this object, and then we'll just send it on to the view, and then we'll be ready to output it in a for each loop. So let's go to our Solution Explorer. We'll go into the models. We'll just throw it in there. We'll create a new class. Just add class. And then just call it rate package. That'd be good. And then add that. Now in this, all we're going to do is just create a property. And then the type is going to be this response. I'm just going to throw the entire response right in there. So just copy this. There's many different ways of doing this, by the way. You could pluck that array out of there, put it in a list. There's several different types of ways of doing it, but I'm just going to do it this way, and then I'll just call this response. Okay, great. So now what we'll do is pull this in, and that will be located right in there. Let's click on that. Okay, so now this model's our view model's done. We could save this, and then we could just attach it to this response. So this right here. So I'm just going to call this model, and it's equal to new, and the name of the model we just created was rate package. So we'll just call it rate package, and then we'll need to pull that in. Just click on that, and that's inside of our models folder. That's where we put that. All right, and then so inside that we have a response. I think we called it, yep, response. So just copy this and then go in here, and that's going to be equal to our rate response. And then make sure you close it up right. Okay, and then that is done. So now all we need to do is pass our model onto our view. Okay, we're all set to go. So now we'll go to the view and we'll output our array to the screen. So if we go to Solution Explorer and then open up our views and then go into Home and open up the index, that's our home page, just open that up. So the first thing we'll do is we'll pull in our rate package model. So we'll go to Using, and then we'll need to go into our project. So UPS API, that's the name of our project. So it's UPS API, that's right here. And then dot, there should be models. There it is. Okay. So now that we've got that, now we're ready to pull in our rate package. So we'll go model, and then that would be rate package. Okay, so now we have access to our view model. So let's create a for each loop, and we're going to start throwing stuff out. So for each, and then tab. I'm just going to leave it called item. That'd be fine. So let's get access to that array that's inside of here. So rate shipment. This is our array. So if we go back here, so the model dot, and then there should be the response inside there, and then dot, then the rate shipment. There we go. And that should be the array. So now let's just throw out like a service code and then the monetary value. That'd be good. So let's create a p tag. We'll put that in there. Then item. And then what's that called? Service, I think it was. Yep, there it is. Service dot code. And then we'll throw out one more thing. It doesn't matter. You can throw out anything you want. There's a whole list of things to select from. I'll just throw out the monetary value. Then dot, and then I think it was total charges or something like that. Yes, there it is. And then monetary value. And that's it. So just save it and run it, and let's see what we get. Okay, great. So as you can see, we got the service code for each one of these, and then also the rate. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you in this video. Hopefully this video helps somebody out. Maybe it saves somebody a little bit of time anyways. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the like button, show some love, and thanks for watching.